Thank you so much for being here this evening for the City of Ventura Santa Paula Rails with Trails project. I'm going to introduce Yvonne, who's offering interpretation services tonight.
Hola, gracias. Me llamo Yvonne Quintero Cañachi. Soy la intérprete de inglés a español. Cualquier persona que ocupe interpretación, por favor, vayan a la sala de afuera y les proporcionaré un audífono para escuchar de inglés a español. Hi, my name's Yvonne Quintero Cañachi. I'm your interpreter from English to Spanish. Anybody that would like to listen to the interpretation in Spanish, please don't hesitate to go to the hall, where I will hand you a headset to do that. Thank you.
Okay, and now I'm going to invite Robin Redwater up for a Chumash land acknowledgement, to be followed by Isabelle to do a Chumash prayer.
Haku haku kianti kakti shokwata sino no kakalap Kaswa. Hello, my name is Robin Redwater and I come from the village of Kaswa along with many other villages. I'm here for a land acknowledgement, and the original village for this little town was called Saticoy. Obviously, you can tell it's changed but kept its original sound in some ways. I'm learning the language of Kaswa under the last speaker for the entire daughter of the last speaker for the entire Chumash tribe, Ernestine Ignacio de Soto, and her nephew, who's a PhD candidate at UC Santa Barbara. So hopefully in the next year he'll graduate. Her nephew was also the last speaker for Ventura. So I'm hoping to also get into that too, but I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to look into those private family notes. As members of the community, it's vitally important to recognize the history of the land that we stand on. It's also important to recognize the Chumash as alive and flourishing members of the broader Santa Barbara, Ventura, and LA counties. To acknowledge the land on which we gather today is to acknowledge that it sits on unceded land, which means it wasn't given or bought, it was stolen from us. It is to acknowledge that the community benefits from living, working, and learning on traditional homelands of the Chumash, and it is to affirm our sovereign rights as First People. I wish I could stay for this meeting. I have to, unfortunately, go pick up my dog because he had an ear infection. But I'm very glad for this opportunity, and I'm thankful to see a lot of people here to witness and put their input on this. Thank you. Kaginash.
Hakulia kichi chanti ke kikich kakti Isabelle Kaswa kakti Isabelle Heniles. Oh, sorry. Hakulia kichi chanti ke kikich. My name is Isabelle, and my family has been in Saticoy for a couple of 100 years, and I'm only 71 though. But I've lived here on and off. But I'm going to say a short prayer, and then I'll translate it as I go along. Alekwal helia hilkiki, tani on you, tani kiliki you. Ki, I'm thinking it up as I go along. So, maker of all things. Ki silly equal, hil chonis hil shoop, hil sa aktikoi, hil chichiwun, hil kuku. We want to do good for the earth, for Saticoy, and for the children and for the people. Ki kantush hikaki alasal. We believe and so we pray. Lia kikikich, all my relations. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Oops. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Herford. I'm a transportation manager for the city of Ventura. Just want to welcome you guys. I'm astounded by the crowd here tonight. Just a testament to the community here in Saticoy. So tonight's our second public meeting for the Santa Paula Branch Line Rails with Trails. We had the first meeting last week virtually. So I don't know if anybody at that meeting last week? Okay, good. So it's pretty much the same agenda that we're going to be going through that we did last week. So before I get into the presentation, just wanted to introduce the project team. City of Ventura, one of the lead agencies. We got Derek Towers. We got Alejandra. And then another important agency in this is VCTC, the Ventura County Transportation Commission. They own the right-of-way for the Santa Paula branch line. So we're lucky tonight to actually have Martin, the executive director, and Amanda Fagan. We also, for this project, we have a consultant team, which I consider the dream team. We have a really great consultant team for this project. So we have Chen Ryan, so we've got Adam Chase, who will be kind of leading the discussion tonight. And then with PCLD, we have Eric, Brianne, and Tori, and Angel and Nicole are somewhere in the, there we go. So anyways, with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Adam. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's a privilege for myself to be working on this project. Again, my name's Adam Chase. I live over in Thousand Oaks in Ventura County. I'm actually a little bit jealous that Ventura gets this kind of trail. It's hard working to get the funding to do something like this. But again, I'm really excited to present this information to you tonight. So the Ventura Santa Paula Branch Line Project is a 4-mile Class 1 multi-use trail. A portion is going to be included as a Class 4 two-way cycle track. The design is funded by ATP Cycle 6. The construction is funded by California Transportation Commission's Solutions for Congested Corridors program. There are no required matching funds needed for the city's annual budget. So this overview map here, what we wanted to show is kind of the limits. We have the trailhead over at the East Metrolink station, and that's adjacent close to Johnson Drive, and then heading over through Montalvo, over into North Bank, and then it's going to run all the way over into Saticoy, crossing more up over into Telephone, crossing Wells Road, and then heading over into the Saticoy community. So now I want to turn it over to Martin from VCTC.
Thank you, Adam, and welcome everyone to this meeting. It is an honor to be here to be talking about this Santa Paula Branch Line Recreation Trail. Again, I'm Martin Erikson, Executive Director of the Ventura County Transportation Commission, or VCTC, and I just also want to recognize one of my commissioners, Jim White, who just came in in the back. I also want to recognize from the first district, Lourdes from Matt Levere's office. Matt's currently serving as the chair of VCTC among many of his other duties. So the Santa Paula Branch Line Railroad has been an operational railroad for nearly 150 years, and it has been an important part of Ventura County, and really the cities of Ventura, Santa Paula, and Fillmore. When we talk about right-of-way, what we're talking about is the area of the track that is about 100 foot from the track center line that is owned by the Ventura County Transportation Commission. But it really is a little more detailed and complex than that. You can see what these numbers on here are the track miles. So for you railroad fans out there, you might be familiar with what that means. And the box there represents the city of Ventura. In 1995, VCTC, the Ventura County Transportation Commission, purchased this rail right-of-way from then Southern Pacific, which is now Union Pacific, and that was a pretty big deal. And at the same time, too, VCTC also purchased right-of-way on the Pacific Main Line, which is the rail line. If any of you ever ride Metrolink here or the Amtrak train, that's the other, the main, they call it the Coast Main Line, but VCTC purchased the right-of-way from Montalvo, from Moore Park to the LA County line east there. So it was pretty significant timing for that. And again, it's great to see the turnout here. We at VCTC, when the original intent in purchasing this line was that it could perhaps someday be used as the rail it once was, which ran all the way out, to Santa Clarita. For those of you who know now that the train isn't running that far, the lines actually stop, once you get a little past Piru. But it was also envisioned as a recreational trail, as a bike lane. So, again, very exciting to be here. I'm going to let one of my Star team members, Amanda Fagan, Director of Transportation and Sustainability, cover some of the next slides. But I just do want to thank everyone for taking the time to come out tonight and be part of this exciting and important discussion.
Thank you, Martin. Eric, could we go back just to the map? I want to hit a couple of other highlights. I just want to mention that the portions of the Santa Paula Branch Line Trail have been built out and have been operating for many years. And so you may have even used them and not even realized portions in the city of Santa Paula and the city of Fillmore, as well as a portion in the unincorporated Piru community. The focus of today's discussion is, of course, the Ventura section of the trail. So the Santa Paula Branch Line corridor presents really a wonderful opportunity to build an active transportation route that is safer than many of the alternative routes along an existing publicly owned right-of-way that was acquired for use as a multimodal corridor. A rails with trails approach facilitates the use of clean transportation alternatives and improves connectivity with transit, which helps to foster transit ridership recovery through first and last mile solutions. Taking a rails with trails approach has many benefits. VCTC estimates that the Santa Paula Branch Line Trail at full build-out will reduce vehicle miles traveled by somewhere between 23,000 and 46,000 daily vehicle miles traveled. And we estimate somewhere between 300 and 500 bike trips to occur daily on the trail. The trail's estimated to have between $2 and $7 million annual economic benefit and significantly reduce bike and pedestrian crashes within the corridor. As I mentioned, 3 sections of the trail system have been completed. Concurrent with the City of Ventura's efforts, the City of Santa Paula has also received grant funding to extend its trail section. And VCTC has plans to update the trail master plan from Saticoy to Piru to validate trail alignment, connections, and amenities, and to update the existing conditions to facilitate trail completion with extensive stakeholder engagement. Completed trail sections are shown in the photos to the right of this slide, demonstrating some of the trail amenities and treatments that have been used to date. In addition, the Sunburst rail bikes operate guided tours on rail-mounted, motor-assisted rail bikes along the Santa Paula Branch Line between the Santa Paula Depot and downtown Santa Paula and Largo Lane, which is west of Fillmore. So now we'll do just a quick informal poll through a raising of hands, non-attributional, I promise. But which of these trail sections have you visited before? The Santa Paula section? Oh, wow. Fillmore? Piru? Yay, a few. Has anyone been on the Sunburst rail bikes yet? Oh, wow. Has anyone used the Ventura Railroad right-of-way section, but not on the formal trails? Or has anyone not used these trail sections before? Oh, good. So we have a good mix of experienced trail visitors and folks who are new to the trail system. Because in the interest of time, I won't spend much more time talking about the Santa Paula Branch Line and as a railroad and its history, safety, and other aspects. But if you'd like more information, please do visit our website at goventura.org/SPBL. And with that context in mind, I'll turn the floor over to Brianne, who will focus on the project at hand, the 4-mile trail section in Ventura. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda and Martin. That was great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Ventura's specific section of the rail line. The Santa Paula Branch Line was selected by the City of Ventura in large part to fill critical gaps in transportation, both for our area disadvantaged communities, but also to improve overall connectivity to the city's existing trail networks. The trail will benefit the community in the following ways. The first one is filling the critical gaps in transportation, but also the critical piece of getting this huge grant award successfully awarded for our community. Other benefits include safer routes, so that's safer routes to jobs, schools, It'll help us connect to existing networks. We've got a lot of great bike trails here on the East End and the eventual overall trail. Reduce vehicle miles traveled that Amanda was just talking about. Help connect people to community benefit destinations, so that's like schools, jobs, fresh food, our other recreation amenities. And then out of the active transportation plan that the city's been developing for the last 2 years, a huge ask from the community was more trails, so this is helping fulfill that. Who here has heard about the city's active transportation plan? Okay, awesome. The Santa Paula Branch Line Trail is one of the high priority projects this of the active transportation plan. It was developed over 2 years of outreach and planning to prioritize Venturans walking, cycling, and rolling as an alternative means to vehicular travel. The program was adopted in December of last year and will serve as our guiding document for future city investment in our transportation projects. A part of the Santa Paula Branch Line project was adopted, a part of the plan was this project being adopted as a high priority plan. And a huge reason is because of its benefits to equitable multimodal travel between Montalvo and Saticoy. Additionally, it'll help get everybody from the hillsides to the beach. We're really excited about that, filling a huge gap. For more information, Eric, can you go back? Sorry. For more information about the ATP, there's an awesome GIS story map where you can look at all the individual projects and learn more about the process. It's the cityofventura.ca.gov/ATP, or you can just Google it, Ventura ATP, and you can get to it real quick. And so the grant application for this project was submitted in 2022. This is a rendering of what the trail could look like, but not the finished design. Our office had the pleasure of working on the grant application that helped get this project awarded. In addition to being chosen for Caltrans Cycle 6 application because of its priority project status, the project was funded because of its cross-jurisdictional support from VCTC and other state agencies. Adam mentioned before, the project was funded through a collaborative effort. Caltrans ATP 6 is paying for pre-construction funds, so we're in pre-construction now. It's what we call soft costs, so permitting, design fees, things like that. And then the Congested Corridors program through CTC is what is funding project construction, and that grant funding has a deadline of December 2026. So your trail will be opened by December 2026. So Adam mentioned before, the project spans the trailhead, the future trailhead in Montalvo, all the way out to Saticoy, and this is us here tonight. So 4.2 miles crosses agricultural lands, residential lands, goes nearby schools, and crosses, as us Venturans know, the barrier that is Wells Road. So it's gonna connect our communities together. The things that were included in the 2022 grant application include the 4 miles of trail, kiosks and informational signs, bike repair stations, accessible ramps onto the trail, traffic signals, so it's safe to cross, and we've got some great exhibits about that to learn about safety on the trail tonight. Benches, trash cans, shade trees, exercise stations, water fill stations, solar lights, so the trail will be illuminated to be used all times of the year. Bike and pedestrian bridges to get across some of our beautiful barrancas, and rest facilities. And just another, I think Adam already mentioned this, but the project requires no city matching funds. So as you see the pink arrow, we are here. So we're in early design. So our early design has been happening since the beginning of the year. So we're concluding early design in the next month or so. And then we're moving to what we're calling mid-design in the fall. So we'll have another meeting. I'll talk a little bit more about outreach in a minute to go over the mid-design pieces that we want your feedback on. And then design of the project will actually be completed by the end of the year. We will then go to City Council to get approval for the project sometime early next year. And then it'll seem like nothing's happening on the project. But that's when we go out for bid for construction, so for contractors, and then construction will take approximately a year from what we're gauging fall to 2025 to 2026 with our grand opening by December of 2026. This is the map of all 4 miles of the trail. We will have Post-it notes, and you can talk to us about specific concerns you may have. Put your questions and your comments up, but also please talk to us personally. We have the exact same exhibit in the other room, so we all don't have to crowd around this one wall. We also have stickers, so you can show us where you live on the trail. It's anonymous, we won't hunt you down. And then also where you'd like to go to using the trail. We also have a group brainstorm behind these lovely folks here in the back, where we will give everyone Post-it notes for you to tell us your ideas about how the trail could be themed. So art, signage, wayfinding, things like that. And again, there'll be folks around that station as well to help you with that. And then we've got a few great exhibits about safety and other things up as well.
So a little orientation to the project here. This is starting on the west end in Montalvo, looking at the first stretch. For those of you who might be familiar, we have our East Ventura Metrolink station here, which provides the opportunity to provide what we're calling the Western Terminus Trailhead, an opportunity to access the trail right at the end of Bunting Avenue. From there, the trail will hug the north side of the rail line to Johnson Drive and encounter our first major crossing. Johnson, very busy corridor, and how we get across Johnson there. Adam, in a little bit, will tell you about some of the safety crossings and what that crossing might look like. But at Johnson, you're going to see the trail flip to the southern side of the rail line for a couple of reasons. One of the big reasons is it's the prime opportunity or location to cross Harmon Barranca, which is our biggest major stream crossing or Barranca crossing along the intersection. And the other reason is as we progress further to the east here, you'll notice that the trail is further away from residential properties. It also avoids the Sunkist Lemon Association plant and its proximity to the rail line there. And it also provides for the most ideal alignment to cross the kind of complicated intersection at Bristol. As we go further east, the trail will stay on the south end of the trail line, crossing Montgomery Avenue. And as we get to the kind of the midway of the trail here, this is the ideal location to hit this kind of key intersection here at the end of Potomac Avenue that provides school walking access to, that is Junipero Serra Elementary School on the left and Junipero Serra Park. There's a connection there already, and the trail will take advantage of this as a kind of a midway point. As we progress further east from this, we enter kind of the residential portion of the project where residential properties are on both sides of the rail corridor. This first section is along the south side of the rail corridor, but at South Pettit we'll transition to the north. And that's for a few reasons. One is we're aware that the residences on the south side of the rail corridor through this next stretch here are all considerably lower than the rail corridor itself. So by moving the trail to the north side, we limit potential visibility impacts of that trail location. And additionally, it's also the most ideal place to cross another one of our crossings here, Sudden Branca. It's a major flood corridor there. So continuing on the north side, across Saticoy Avenue, this is also the ideal alignment that then transitions here. You're going to see right here the trail kind of moves off of the rail corridor and into, there's an existing trail along this linear park here that moves to the north around what is under construction right now at the Ventura Springs Veterans Housing Project and the Veterans Home of California. One of the big reasons it does this is we kind of get a twofer in this alignment. Wells Road is a really hard intersection to cross, but also Brown Barranca. And so by using this alignment, we don't have to construct new bridges across Brown Barranca, and we use existing intersection infrastructure at Wells and Telephone to get across the complications of Wells. Additionally, just on the other side of Telephone, the trail can use the existing storm drain easement that kind of divides Saticoy. Those of you here know that Los Angeles Avenue right there in the bottom, hidden by the play bar, does not continue through Saticoy and is broken by this storm drain easement. A trail through here can facilitate better connection, but also provides a great linkage to Saticoy Park and the Boys and Girls Club in the background there before we turn down Alalia Avenue and end at the historic Saticoy Depot, which will provide the kind of eastern terminus trailhead for the proposed trail. Much of this is detailed on the enlargements that are here tonight, so we invite you after we're done with the presentation to take a look and kind of see what's going on. We have some pictures. I can also play this video, and we have the Google Earth and a station in there. If anyone wants to get real specific about where the trail might be or certain conditions, we can zoom in on that.
All right, we get to talk about a little bit of project design. although Eric did a really good job. He could probably take my job here. So yeah, getting right into it. So one of the things here with project design, we just want to give you an introduction to what you're going to be seeing at the next public meeting, which is going to be a little bit more. So renderings, more actual treatments at intersections. But to give you an idea of what we look into and why you're seeing kind of the alignment that you've seen here tonight, we take a look at a lot of factors of design and safety. So one of the big aspects here, the main purpose, again, with the trail is level of stress. So as you avid bikers, this level of stress is for all ages. So anytime you think of like driving right adjacent to a vehicle, you know, it's not very comfortable, right? So taking the pedestrians and the bicyclists directly off of anything adjacent to the roadway, that level of stress, it's just a lot more enjoyable and safer. So we take a look at that. We take a look at the route directness, access, trail crossings. Topography does have a play into this. So whether or not Eric was just saying kind of like areas that are higher or lower. The right-of-way, the cost, overall cost, we do have a budget limit for this project. Constructability and overall risk, and an overall permitting. So this image right here, it's the grant application that came through 2022, but it's a visual depiction of what was included as part of that process. So later on this year, you're going to see enhanced renderings of our actual design, not part of the grant, but how we're moving forward. So this is kind of a brief overview of the various sections of the project, more engineering sections. We're just getting started. But each part of the project, particularly those segments bringing major intersections, presents a lot of the unique challenges that we have. So we aim to collaborate closely with every stakeholder, and we're going to tailor all these engineering solutions, and we're going to meet these challenges. Worth noting, the trail, we're going to have a minimum of about 12.5 feet. It's a mandatory 12.5 feet offset from the center line of the rail to the edge of our trail. So that is going to be something enacted, and that also is going to provide some good safety. So that is going to be embedded safety adjacent to the trail, and how, you know, the rail is still going to be operated, right? So rails with trails, right? So we want both to operate at the same time. We want it to both be safe. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Tori.
I'm just going to go ahead and touch on a few of the things that both Adam and Brianne had talked about. Brianne talked about in the grant application, and you might have seen some of these amenities in the sections that Adam was just reviewing. But some of the amenities that we're looking to put in include bike racks, benches, trash cans, potentially U-Fix-It stations, the solar lighting, water refill station, and exercise stations specifically at our trailhead node areas, and hopefully at a few others in between. So once again, we have some in-person hand-raising voting. If you just want to think about like maybe what you enjoy on other trails or what you would like to see on this trail, you can raise your hand for as many of these as you would like. But does anyone think highly of bike racks in terms of amenities along this trail? A few? Okay. Benches? Lots of benches. Exercise stations. Nice. Water bottle refill stations. Yeah. Trash cans. Lots of trash cans. Very useful. U-Fix-It stations. Yeah. And then the solar lighting. Yeah, definitely. So if anyone has been through the Santa Paula section of this trail that is already designed, and the old railroad depot station that's out there, you'll see some of the signs that we actually at PCLD had the pleasure of designing a while ago in terms of that section of the trail, and looking into design precedents and what this could be. That's definitely a very clear inspiration and indicator for what we might see here, and specifically the signage is taken a direct vocabulary from what a railroad might look like. And then in terms of hardscape elements, not quite as flashy maybe as the amenities, but still super important in terms of the infrastructure and safety and lots of other things on the trail. We have a potential to include decorative pavers, decorative concrete, lodgepole fencing, one pedestrian bridge, trailhead gateways at the nodes and the trailhead areas, and then multiple fence type options in terms of what the surrounding conditions are going to be. And then, yeah, I've talked about the trailhead plaza node areas a couple times. We have two main ones, one at Montalvo and then another one at Saticoy Depot. So, and potentially a small one at the North Bank crossing. So these are just areas that maybe we can put a little bit more design in. They're not just a simple bench on the side, and they can really incorporate trees and hardscape elements and really give a sense of place to the area. And Adam's going to go talk a little bit more about safety.
All right, so let's take a look at some crossing treatments. Let's start thinking about what's in our toolbox. So this is something in our toolbox that we could use within some of our crossings. This is specifically a Hawk system. So this Hawk system, where it's also known as a pedestrian hybrid beacon, but it's pedestrian actuated, it's over the roadway itself. It's enhancing crosswalks, right? We all know crosswalks are never enough for safe crossings. So this is something that it's like an active treatment. We use this kind of system where it's kind of difficult for finding gaps in traffic, high speeds. So it's definitely something within our toolbox we want to include. Specifically, this Hawk signal, there's one that has been erected over on Bristol Road. The city was kind enough to do that project. It's a great project. But it's actually, we have a website up, and the Hawk has a whole definition on how it operates, and that's on the Active Transportation Plan / Mobility Explained on their website. So expanding our toolbox, when we have a little bit more lower speeds, not the same amount of vehicles that are crossing, we don't necessarily have to put a Hawk everywhere. We don't want to just put these treatments where they're not warranted. So we take a look at other treatments like the rectangular rapid flashing beacon or the RRFB. So these are really proven safe countermeasures by the Federal Highway Association. And I just want to highlight this. There was actually a project that was recently built up in Santa Cruz, and it's the photo in the upper right-hand corner. It's actually at a trail, Rails with Trails, and they use that same technique with the RRFB. So this is it's an example of a Class 4 two-way cycle track. You probably haven't seen much of these within Ventura County yet. It's coming, but it's a technique we use at major roadways. So think of this as like along Wells Road. So how do you safely cross Wells Road? This is an element. We still want to separate the bicycles with the vehicles and have that buffer separation. So these two-way cycle tracks, because they're counterflow, we want to have signalization for the bike. So there'll be bicycle indicators for both directions, and it'll have its own phase that you will not conflict with traffic. So you'll go with pedestrians and bikes. So as with every project, we look at project safety, and it's multifaceted. So we incorporate quite a bit of design strategies. We look at the amenities. We look at VCTC's policy. We look at the city's policy. And we look at enforcement. So these safety design strategies, they're typically achieved through multidisciplinary approach. So think of civil traffic engineers, and then think of Eric over here as a landscape architect. So we work together to use that use of space. And it takes a team to be able to do it right. So we focus on clear sight lines, enhanced visibility, placement of security call boxes, emergency vehicle access. So we do want to maintain emergency vehicle access at all the entry points, at all the public intersections. So this slide specifically, we just want to highlight how we're going to be using solar trail lighting, provide that nighttime visibility, and we're going to be casting these downwards. So they'll be shielded within the focused intensity that we want to use for the trail and the appropriate spacing. We're going to basically make sure that the light trespass is not happening within the residential community. So talk about these policies that I just mentioned. You got the VCTC trespass policy that was adopted in May 2021. Sierra Northern is implementing this policy. We have the City of Ventura's enforcement policy as the link here. And just to highlight, I just want to say, who better to provide this overview to safety and enforcement than Watch Commander Ryan Weeks.
Thank you. So obviously design is a very big part of safety, but along with that goes police presence and law enforcement. A vast majority of this trail falls within the City of Ventura, so Ventura Police Department will respond to the majority of calls for service on this trail. A couple of things that we can do that we want to get going right from the get-go once the trail is formed is we can start what we call our focus patrols. We want to have a heavy presence in the beginning. We want people to feel safe. We want to deter any kind of criminal activity. So we would want to be on and around the trail quite a bit. We have what we call focus patrols. We do these now. Basically, they are a pre-programmed call for service that we will have our dispatchers go in, put it in our computer-aided dispatching system. And when our officers have free time, meaning they're not responding to emergencies or any other calls for service, they will actually be dispatched to that focus area to do proactive policing and just have a heavy presence in that area. Camera monitoring systems. In the city of Ventura, we already have dozens of cameras throughout the city that we can access in our communication center. So very often, we will have a call for service in an area where we know there's a camera. Our dispatchers will actually jump on that camera. A lot of them are pan-tilt zoom cameras, so they can zoom right in on where the problem is. They can help direct our officers in there. They can describe what's going on. They can describe suspects, and it helps us out a lot in response to calls for service. There's a plan to have cameras on this trail, and we would ask for access to those into our communication center, and it helps us out quite a bit. We would also ask that just everyone calls in anything you see. If you see something that appears to be suspicious, if it appears criminal in nature, if there are encampments, we would ask that you call into our dispatch center. If you are a person that doesn't like to dial 911 because you're scared that you're going to get in trouble for it not being an emergency, the number 805-650-8010, that is our non-emergency number. It literally goes right into the same spot as if you were to call 911. It'll be the same person answering it. You don't have to be worried about getting in trouble for dialing 911. And that's about it.
With this project, I have the pleasure of helping lead the outreach plan for the project. So thank you all for being here tonight. This is an awesome turnout. Alejandra with the City of Ventura's communications department is my counterpart as well. And if there's anything specific that comes out of this part that you'd like to talk to either of us, or any concerns or questions you have about the City of Ventura, Alejandra's great to talk to. He'll pull us aside. So tonight is part of four core parts of our public outreach plan. And so one is meetings. We are doing 3 different types of meetings over the next year. The first that we started in March are going to community and area councils. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We also have a special stakeholder group that we're working with throughout the design process of local organizational leaders. I'll talk about that in a second as well, and then public meetings. So tonight is the second of 6 public meetings by the end of the year. So stay engaged. To get information, those of you that have signed up at the front when you walked in, you are automatically signed up now for our project communications. We're also doing e-blasts. There's information in the city newsletter. There's some information if you want to sign up for city communications. There's a card up at the front for that as well, but just other ways that we're reaching out. We have an awesome website that we're building out, and we're about to start working on an ATP, similar to the ATP story map, one that's for this project, which will detail our progress throughout the next year. But currently on cityofventura.ca.gov/, you can go to the QR code for those of you that know how to use it, /SPBL. You can find out more about our project background. So a lot of the information you're hearing tonight, project history, very detailed FAQ. We've got some frequently asked questions at the front, but we've got a lot of those on our website. You can check up on meeting invitations and then results. So the PowerPoint that you see here tonight in both English and Spanish will be available on the website probably like next Monday or Tuesday. And then we'll also be administering surveys. So as I mentioned, this is meeting 2 of 6. Right now we plan to do 2 more virtual meetings and 2 more in person. As I mentioned, we have community and area council meetings. So there's 6 of those. So we've completed the first 3, and that was the first thing we did to try to reach folks in the community. And if you're from this side of town, highly recommend joining either Montalvo, East End, I mean the rest of the city councils as well, or community councils as well, but great organizations, and then also the Saticoy MAC. And then, yeah, I'm gonna talk more about these different meeting types so we can go forward. So you saw this map before. The grayed out area represents the area outside of our direct area benefit. These are the areas that we are focusing in on because they're within a walkable, bikeable distance to these neighborhoods. This trail is for the whole community, but this is why we're purposely going to Montalvo Community Council, East End Community Council, and then the Saticoy MAC, which meets here. This is just a map kind of showing how our city council districts fall within our project boundary. And those of us that live on the other side of Wells might not know a ton about how Saticoy plays into this. Saticoy is within the city of Ventura's sphere of influence. So technically this is unincorporated Ventura. Because of that, in planning for active transportation and just overall community resources, Saticoy is typically included in that. And so, sorry, Eric. Oh, this is great. Yeah, next one. Yeah, so this is where Saticoy falls in the specific area plan and in the sphere of influence. So it's essentially right up against the unincorporated Ventura lines, this ag land here. So the Saticoy Municipal Advisory Council was created by the County Board of Supervisors. There's ones for other unincorporated areas in our county as well. The MAC strives to increase citizen participation. So hopefully that's why some of you are here tonight from hearing about this at the MAC meeting in April. And they also meet to talk about government issues pertaining to this specific community and learning about, larger resources. Mentioned our special stakeholder meetings. It's made up of 2 different meeting types. The first is led by Adam. These are more technical meetings working with agricultural leaders to make sure that the project works both for the community but also our ag lands, which looks like parks, but it's very much a working factory, so it's something that we have to consider in planning this trail. And then we have had one meeting with our community benefit organizations, and so these are leaders from local organizations that overlap with trail use, including Bike Ventura, Channel Islands Bike Club, some folks from our active transportation plan, and also Friends of Santa Clara River. We've got PTO, PTA folks, people from the local community councils, et cetera, et cetera. It's a great group of people. And we had our first meeting back in March where we did very much similar to what we're doing tonight. We didn't have as much figured out, but to get feedback on project design, development concerns specific to those organizations. So that was the first of 3 working meetings. We're gonna have 2 more. And just some photos of us working on stuff together at City Hall. So I know I showed you this map before, but this timeline before, but I wanted to bring it up again just to stress that this is the critical time to give input. So thank you so much for being here. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family. If they are concerned about the project, they're excited about the project, they have ideas for the project, we want to hear from you, but that part ends at the end of the year. So that's why we've built out this robust effort so we can work together heavily over the next 6 to 7 months. So again, these are the ways you can stay involved. And we're done. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, we will be. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sticking with us through this. We can definitely answer a couple questions. We just ask that those questions are more about the overall project. Can those of you that are helping facilitate taking questions and giving answers and whatnot, raise your hand? So there's over 10 of us, I think like a dozen of us, these 2 folks in the back as well. And so we'll be working with you one-on-one if you have specific questions about your residence or a very specific concern. We'll work together to get those answered. But is your question more an overall question, or is it something specific to your residence or area? And we're going to just grab the mic really quick. This one's hot too? Okay.
I actually have a couple questions.
Sure.
I see it in your photographs, a picture of a train in every single one of them. Does that mean there will be an increase in rail traffic?
There is no planned increase with rail travel. Existing operations are to continue, but no planned increase or decrease in rail travel.
Okay. And how close will the trails be to private property? Let's say someone's backed up to their home, has got a wall against the traffic.
Yeah, that's a great question. It differs per location. We have a couple, so sorry to call you out again, the folks in the back. There's a safety exhibit there. There's a duplicate one in the other room that shows a couple typical sections of how those offsets work. It will differ per residential area and existing condition, and I would definitely talk to Adam, Jeff, Derek about those specific technical questions. Okay. Is there anything specific you guys want to say right now? Okay.
Yeah, so as Brianne said, it's going to differ depending on where we are. One of the things, if you have a home and there's like an existing construction block wall, like a sound wall or a separation wall or whatever kind of wall you want to talk about, we're going to have to stay away from your foundation of that wall. And so it's going to look about at least 5 feet, 10 feet. So it's going to vary depending about how much space we may have to grade in there, just earthwork, or putting back some shrubs or whatever it may be. But otherwise, I mean, we will have to stay structurally away from portions of where the VCTC property abuts along that.
Will there be a curfew, or can someone be on the trail at all hours of the night?
We have talked about that. No decisions have been made now, but it could be something where, like a park, it's closed, from dusk to dawn, but it wouldn't be fenced off or anything like that. So it could be an enforcement thing after that.
And folks, I don't want to limit question and answer, but maybe we'll give it 10 more minutes just because we've been going so long, and then we can break out into some individual conversations or groups. The gentleman with the hat, maybe after you, Jim. Yeah.
This project can be affecting other residents in this area, for example, Violeta, and the other one is Saticoy. Can be affecting this or no?
And Adam may have something to say on this too, but we're working with the county. There is an active transportation project within Saticoy. So we're working with the county to join our project with what's happening already in Saticoy with their active transportation project.
Yeah, Jeff said it perfectly. We're working with our other agency stakeholders. So it's a little bit of an overlap of what we're looking at. And so the county has some funding for pedestrian improvements. And so we're going to work together to envision the overall look and feel within the year 2026, 2027.
The question is very simple. I'd like to know if any residential properties would be affected along this project here in the Saticoy area. Thank you.
Your residential private property will not be affected by this project. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Just real briefly, I just want to remind everybody that there's going to be a lot of bikes on this trail, but there's also going to be walkers, runners, and joggers. So don't feel like you can't use this trail just because you're not on a bike.
I mean, I think with the cameras that we're referring to and Commander Weeks referred to going into PD, it could be something where a resident calls in to the, not 911, but the other number. And that's maybe something that PD could enforce because that's not what we want on the trail.
And also, today, if you see motorcyclists out there, you're welcome to call us, and you can call the police. They can enforce the trespass, but you can also call VCTC, and we can also work with our railroad operator to address it. In other areas of the trail, we have added not barriers, but there are other ways to keep people from, so, please do call them in.
Okay, and I think Julie and then the gentleman here in the doorway.
To follow up what Jim was saying, we're going to have bicyclists, we're going to have pedestrians, which is a great idea. I just hope there's room for everybody, and I hope there's striping that indicates who runs and who rides and who walks where.
To that point, it will be striped. It'll be standard bicycle or multi-use path etiquette, slower traffic to the right, 2 lanes. It'll be 10 feet to 12 and a half feet wide. The path will be. There's not enough space for that, so it'll be bikes on. Yeah.
There's only so much cross-sectional width the trail has. We have to stay 12 and a half feet off the center line of the railroad. And then you have about 50 feet of space. And at 50 feet of space, we have other things that we have to stay away from. Utilities, we have other drainage, culverts. We got a lot of constraints out there that have been already identified. So we're trying to standardize the trail to 12 feet wide. 10 feet in only a very small section. Otherwise, 12 feet wide. We'll still have 2-foot shoulders on each side, so that'll be about 16 feet. So you will have some shoulders. But overall, I mean, these grants are very highly competitive. And at the end of the day, we're locked in at cost and how much we can be competitive to win this grant. So I think the city did, I mean, all we could, even VCTC, and how to envision this project.
Another quick comment to your point is there is definitely opportunity and budget for signage on this project, even if that's just a simple, like on equestrian trails, it's like horses yield to bikers, yield to walkers, and they have that circle. There's also a potential for, going back to the motorbikes or e-bikes, like a speed limit sign and something like that. So those could be effective ways of really communicating how the trail is supposed to be used.
And I just wanted to briefly note that the point of this trail is that it's a dedicated Class 1 bike lane where their cars will not be operating, which is actually the safest thing for bikes, pedestrians, otherwise. And I think you'll find, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but for those of you familiar with the Ojai Trail, I mean, it'll be similar in width to large portions of that. So.
Yes, I'm a resident of Saticoy, and my question was about the cameras. Will the sheriffs have some input on that, and will also the Boys and Girls Club have input, and also privacy for the residents?
Yeah, so we're engaging with Sheriff's Department, CHP, obviously, City of Ventura PD. Maybe I'll hand the mic over to you. The CCTV cameras are within the budget of the grant. Those have been planned for. And then just as there is now cross-jurisdictional work on enforcing those safety measures, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I haven't spoken with the Ventura County Sheriff's Department. I don't know if they'll be looking at cameras or not. As far as privacy, I don't know if those will be blocked from. Yeah, they'll be blocked from turning around and facing the residents. Typically, we have the pan tilt zoom cameras that could go. They could block it from turning around and going into the residences, and you could look up and down the trail.
Okay, and the other question was about the sheriffs. Will the sheriffs also have the right to respond to problems on the trailways, or?
Absolutely. So really, our jurisdiction is pretty much the whole thing. This section right here, in between Montgomery and Bristol, that's Ventura County Sheriff. Mm-hmm. So typically the way our responses go, if there was an emergency there, we would go to make sure everything's okay.
Right.
If we were to go and find out that there was a crime so right now, if there's a traffic collision right here, we'll go, make sure everybody's okay, and then we'll call the Sheriff's Department and say, hey, this happened in your jurisdiction. So anywhere there, and then once it goes over into Saticoy, same thing. If there's an emergency and we get the call, we will go, respond, make sure everybody's okay, and then if we get there and realize we're in the Sheriff's jurisdiction, we will call them and say, hey, this is yours.
Okay.
And they can, and anybody can call the Sheriff's Department. We're not taking any jurisdiction over the trail. anybody, if you live in Saticoy, you're welcome to call the sheriff's department.
Okay,
There-
and we also have trouble with people driving too fast through Saticoy. Even right here on Violeta Street, it happens. There's been accidents here with pedestrians being hit, people on bikes being hit, and also on Azahar Street, that runs very fast, especially when around 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock, when everyone's getting out of work from the fields. So we have some really fast traffic going through here, and my concern was crossing from the trail coming through Saticoy, passing through Violeta, and then across Azahar Street. Has it been decided already what changes will be to those intersections?
So that's going to be collaborated with the County of Ventura. Their project is going to address intersection treatments at that specific intersection. So I think what we're going to end up doing is having a little bit of where our project comes in and does phase 1, and then phase 2, the county project comes in to do the full end envisioned safety improvements.
I'll add one of the advantages to adding, secure bikeways, pedestrian ways, is that it does cause vehicle speeds to go down because of inevitable lane narrowing and just uncomfortability to drive so fast. So that's one of the added benefits without even considering all the other things that can be done vehicularly. And we want to hear from everybody. So please don't feel not listened to, but we want to go ahead and conclude this part of the meeting after this gentleman speaks, and then we'd love to have some smaller conversations with you. Go ahead.
All right, 3 questions.
Yeah.
Where it stops at the old train station, are they going to utilize that in the future in any way without disturbing the actual old structure? And for the police officer, I feel like we already have like one entity here, which is the sheriffs, and a lot of the times when they get called out at night, they're flying through here like, 60, 70 miles per hour, just for just one little situation. And then to have another, the police, I know how you said that you were going to focus on the area because you want to let everybody know your presence and stuff like that. But is that going to disturb the peace amongst the residents?
No, when I say heavy presence, I mean within the city of Ventura. We won't expand our boundaries at all. Again, if we were needed to show up for an emergency, yes, but no, you shouldn't see Ventura police coming into Saticoy to do any kind of proactive policing, no.
Yeah, because, that whole backside, they're going to have a bunch of lights back there and stuff like that. So, that's probably going to be one of your more focused points, right? Because, with the gang activity and everything.
Yeah, we'll see where the calls for service end up being. But, yeah, as far as us coming into Saticoy, there shouldn't be any increase of Ventura police coming into there. That should still remain the sheriff's department.
We did actually just have a conversation with the county today about that property where the Saticoy train depot is. It's an exciting opportunity. VCTC actually owns that property, managed by the county. So one of the ideas is to work with the county on trying to get that property paved for a parking lot for a trailhead, and then have somebody potentially take that building over and renovate it, just like they did in Santa Paula with Train Depot.
And just, real quickly, VCTC owns the 2-acre parking lot there, but the actual old historic train structure, that building is actually owned by the county, and that is a historic structure, so that will need to be preserved, whatever happens around there. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, thank you, Martin. I'm sorry, we want to talk to you, but in smaller groups, one-on-one. So just a reminder, we have the strip maps up. So this room or that room, so let's split up. We have Post-it notes, pens, pencils. You can talk to us directly. Please write on the Post-its and not on the map, because I do not want to get these beautiful painted walls marked up. We also have dots, so you can tell us where you live, where you'd like to go to on the trail, and then the brainstorm about what you'd like the trail to look like.